Hello everyone! Good to see you on this golden afternoon. I'm back! In this video, I'm going to talk about the evolution of some of hobbies of mine, and talk about my character design process and what I learned throughout the years. We'll start with some traditional art. So I've been drawing these guys in one form or another since middle school 2016. Initially, when I created these OCs, I designed a Sona and a mascot character because I wanted to create a persona for myself. Many artists I followed had such cool personas, and I simply wanted to have one. Drew several sketches, most of which I no longer have because I drew them on sticky notes and school textbooks. As you can see, at the time I was consuming a lot of storytime animation. Back to the topic. Drawing was in 2017, as I spent the time between 2016 and 2017 practicing art, as I only started taking it seriously around the end of 2015. So I drew the Sona with a sweater that had a lollipop on it. I'm assuming jeans, a fedora, some curly hair peeking from underneath the fedora, red shoes, and no anime to speak of. So this was just a Sona, and he didn't have a name at all at the time. He was just me. And the mascot character he had to interact with was this red cloud that was made of evaporated blood, who had a face and later was wearing glasses. Her name was Eva. Designed after my online name at the time, Blood Cloud. Eva's personality at first was just floating there and looking pretty. She then became a sarcastic character who kept passive-aggressively making fun of my Sona, like a foil. So after I settled on these designs, I didn't have a plan or any foresight for them. I just drew them doing a bunch of random stuff. Like this one of Tails from Sonic holding me, and this one where I'm sitting on Eva. Also, I never redrew the lollipop design. So I kept drawing them a bunch of times. I lost most of those drawings, but here are the ones that I found. You can see my art style evolving with these two. At some point, I wanted to turn them into their own characters and associated with me, so I wanted to redesign them, to make their design more interesting. The majority of the redesign process was done on sticky notes, so I don't have that to pull up my sketchbook in the middle of class, even though I could totally focus on both. Anyway, that was my way of going through the haze that was middle school. To the topic, so I have these old sketches that I kept in my sketchbook. At this point, they were transitioning from Sonas and a foil to an OC and a yet-to-be redesigned character. I'm going to refer to the Sona as Button for now, as he didn't have a name yet. It'll make sense in a bit. At some point, I drew him a Pikachu hoodie, and they gave me the idea of giving him a hoodie with animal ears. So at the beginning, I gave him cat ears for the hoodie, but then I thought, that didn't look cute enough. Make it funny. The design at this point was shorts, a bunny hoodie, pocket on the front, and a pet armadillo named Cell, which he would keep in the pocket. Even though I think Cell is extremely cute, no rendition of him will make it to the current version. But Eva was replaced by a white guy, so there's that. Surprisingly, he won't be the FTM of the group. As you can see here, I have two silhouettes next to him in this drawing. This was me planning the height of two characters and the guy Eva turned into and the other guy. These are the only sketches I could find of their conceptions. I didn't have names for them at the time too, so I'll refer to them as Clock and Peppermint respectively, for now. Again, it'll make sense in a bit. By the way, it took years to come up with a satisfying name for them, while I came up with Eva so easily because I just wanted to name a character after Eva from WALL-E. Back to the topic. I later took all the drawing and sketch ideas that I drew on full designs for them digitally. Oh, the watermark is my old username, it's not stolen art. Yes, I changed my username again. I changed it like 11 times. At this point, I just designed them with personality in mind. I'm not going to bore you with the evolution of their personality because they changed drastically from version to version. So Button kept the bunny hoodie, and I wrote Usagi on it like the lead that I am. If you liked anime and drew OCs as a child, you had at least one character with Japanese text written on them. Or worse, a tattoo. Don't pretend you didn't. Nicolas shirt. Back to the topic. Clock had a plain mustard sweater, a blue beanie, floral pattern shoes, and skin so pale it will make a Genshin Impact character designer blush. And I gave him round glasses. Had a striped shirt with patches of a yellow eye on the shoulder, overalls, punk leather strap boots, and the most Nagito Kamaida-ass looking haircut you've ever seen. He didn't even know Danganronpa existed at the time, nor have I seen him before, I swear. Also, trigger warning, Danganronpa will come up again in this video. As you can see, the most intriguing part of this design is their object eyes, the button, the clock, and the peppermint respectively, hence their aforementioned nicknames. I don't know why peppermint had black pupil, though, so ignore that. Also, I'm going to say before someone called me out on and canceled me for it, the drawing of peppermint eating the noodles was traced from another artist. I don't remember who, but I felt like I had to repent for my sins. I'm sorry. I was a child. Back to the topic. Now the object eyes. I took that from the Lavender Town's art style. If you're not familiar with her, she's an art YouTuber that does comics and also a lot of art videos like tutorials and just character designs. What she does is draw objects and shapes for artists to convey emotions and moods. So I thought, what if I did something similar? I just picked random circular objects at the time, but later it gave me the idea of, why don't I turn this into my favorite thing? Ever After High. If you're not familiar, Ever After High was a doll line series sister to Monster High, where every character is designed after a fairy tale character. Apple White, daughter of Snow White, Raven Queen, daughter of the Evil Queen, so on and so forth. If you're wondering why Ever After High specifically over the arguably more popular, more successful, still going Monster High, well, that's the one that got localized here. Also, I just like it more. So I said, hey, I want to do something with similar, so I thought, what if I made a series of characters designed after concepts, like Gajinkas? So I chose toys, dolls, and puppets for the button eyes, antique, furniture, and old houses for the clock eyes, dessert and confections and candy and sweets for the peppermint eyes. And so I redesigned them further to make them more fitting of these concepts. I don't have most of the evolution of their designs because it was mostly digital and I was really bad at preserving my art from the time. So Button kept the rabbit hoodie and the non-visible shorts, and underneath he was wearing a shirt that had the kanji Togetsu, meaning marionette, on the front. I still haven't changed, I'm sorry, that's who I am. And a marionette cross on the back on a long cowlick to resemble a marionette's his string. Later I came across these dinosaur foot slippers, well I sat on Gumball, they're Darwin's pajamas, and turned them into shoes with dinosaur claws, based on the ever so iconic toys that are plastic dinosaurs. And he has two hair loops styled to look like bear ears referencing teddy bears. I took that idea from Molly Blindef from Empathy Erased. I'm nothing if not transparent. This is a real good idea when you're designing a character. If you see a fashion piece, a physical trait, or a quirk that you like on a character, or a real person, or heck, even yourself, just use it. Use it on your own character. The next redesign is for Clock. I made him significantly taller than Button, 2 meters to be exact, as that is the average height of a traditional grandfather clock, with his hair being long and straight like a curtain, covering one eye to drive in the grandfather clock similarity. And I gave him a beanie with spiderweb design colored to look like stained glass lampshades, and I designed his sweater to look like books on a shelf, and shoes that resemble a Volkswagen Beetle, a car with just a buckle on top, just because, to give it like shoes vibes instead of like car vibes. I mean, it still gives car vibes in my opinion. That is the intent. Then I wanted to add 3 femme-presenting characters to the group of protagonists. I want the story to be like GTA or My Little Pony, where there are more than one character that the show focuses on somewhat equally, but the twilight sparkle of the story is Butter. Here are traditional sketches of one of the girls. We'll call her Ladybug. Her concept is arthropods. So in her first concept art, she had this shirt. It had a sheep-like collar, at least that's what it looks like to me. Also, she was never supposed to be Chinese at any point, but I can't tell if it ends in shorts or a dress. Also, she had this shirt-like thing that doesn't go all the way down, around, like a monarch butterfly wing, and cowlick that looks like 2 antennas. Yellow shoes with a black stripe to look like a bee. You could tell I was grasping at ideas for the design. Another character was transferred over from a Danganronpa fangame story idea I had when I was in my Danganronpa hyperfixation. If anyone wants, I'll open up that Google Doc and give the 16 characters I came up with designs and tell you their entire story. Her only existing design from this part of her existence is this. Her design was just a hijab, a large bow on the back, and face stickers, inspired by the horror fashion. Additionally, here's the Monokuma clone of the fangame. He's inspired by the concept art of the original Monokuma included in the first art book. I think this design inspired the mascot for the 100-line Defense Academy game. Back to the topic. When I went to turn her into an OC, the concept I immediately thought of was fairy tales, myths, and legends. Because if my mention of Ever After High earlier didn't give it away, that is my #1 special interest. I love every fairy tale associated media I have ever encountered. I love dark retellings, continuation, different interpretations, simple adaptations, and all other forms. She's the one whose final design has the most references, you'll see. And the third character, I went to design them straight with everyone on the canvas. Their concept is visual arts, mainly music, sculpture, painting, literature, architecture, performing, and film. Luckily, I have the speed draw for this one. Ignore the anatomy. These were design exploration, not anatomy masterpieces. Somewhat important side note, you guys probably heard of aphantasia. If not, it's when your brain has a difficulty imagining visuals. The most common example of this is trying to imagine an apple. I'll link this video made by Jamie vs. The Void. It will explain it in more depth. But what it has to do with me is that I have a form of it. While it's not completely lack of ability to imagine the apple, I can only imagine the silhouette of one, without much detail. So if I want to draw something, I usually start with the silhouette. And if I want, what if I'm drawing has multiple parts, I can imagine them separately and draw them this way. Which is why I have trouble drawing things like patterns and faces because they're part of a surface. So that's just the way I draw sometimes, silhouette out. I've also seen industry professionals do this, so it's a valid way to go about it. Enough dilly-dallying, let's begin the speed paint. I start with adding references. The Twitter drawing is from the artist Mino656. I couldn't find the Twitter account anymore, but their Instagram is the same name, although they haven't posted anything since March of last year, and I can't find the exact drawing on their account anymore. All the rest of the references are mine or from other company-owned media, or just pictures. I'm not going to list them all. Okay, as I explained a while ago, I start with silhouette and draw the three guys. Button didn't change much. He just got a Lego piece on the shoe tongue area. I took that from Knuckles from Sonic, but I don't know what they're supposed to be on him, but it is a Lego on Button. Look like just had this weirdly designed cable sweater. The design will undergo a bunch of changes, but the idea will remain the same. His hair also got longer down to his lower back. Ignoring the fact that it's Studio Ghibling the fuck out, I added this pattern on his pants to look like decorative furniture like. You'll notice that I didn't add any frequent old art to the page. I just didn't want to keep that much from the design because I thought it was ugly. You'll see the design on this page is much more hideous. I don't know how I was satisfied with it at the time. But don't worry, it took me only 3 days after posting it to hate it. Anyway, I kept the overalls and striped shirt. I gave the overalls a strawberry pattern and dripped chocolate at the bottom, gumdrop front parts of the boots, the most Super Saiyan looking whipped cream hair you've ever seen. Don't worry, this is not his final form. I thought of that sentence not realizing the joke that's included. And now for the three other characters. The one next to Button is the one whose concept is arthropods. We'll call her Ladybug. Also, at this point of her design, she had also a nature theme, but then I decided that nature can be their own separate character. That's what the leaf on her head is. I gave her 2 braids that ended in points to look like scorpion tails. She had 3 beauty marks, 2 below her eyes and 1 on her nose bridge, and with 2 big eyes that resemble a praying mantis eyes, 2 compound eyes, and 3 oculi eyes. There's also a random leaf and a butterfly wing wrapped around her waist. She also has a down jacket with an orange design inspired by this character design made by One Battle Noodle on Twitter. It was a redesign of Josh S2604's character Pink Lemonade. They gave her this jacket that has a citrus design, so I took the idea and used it here. Again, I'm nothing if not transparent. The relationship between citrus and insect is that citrus fruits are very good bug repellent. Also, I designed this ugly-ass skateboard deck. My graphic design skills will improve, please believe me. Next is self-indulgent design. We'll call her Star. The design didn't have that many real references at the beginning. She had a red hijab in reference to Little Red Riding Hood, and this apron thing that makes an elephant silhouette with a golden egg to reference fairy tales, like the goose that laid golden eggs from Aesop Fables and Jack and the Beanstalk. The elephant part was supposed to reference the elephant with the golden tusk, a Jataka tail, but I forgot to add the tusk in this drawing. Her shoes have wings on the heels of the shoe to reference Hermes' winged sandals. The sun and moon on her brow references the story East of the Sun, West of the Moon. You won't need to know the story, just the title. That's why the sun pattern is on the right and the moon on the left, east and west. And her eyes are constellations in a simple star shape, because all the mythology that's tied up to constellation. Now for the emblem of the group. We'll call him Color. So their concept is visual arts. Her hair is styled in cornrows and pulled into a pseudo ponytail with some dreads, and wicks styled to look like snakeheads, in reference to Greek Gorgon statues, and eyes that are color wheels. The way I drew this is by making a circle and separating it into magenta, cyan, and yellow, and blending them slightly, and it will give you a full range, full saturated color wheel. A necktie that tied into a Trinity knot, with each section being one of the primary colors, the aforementioned cyan, magenta, and yellow. Pants that have a piano key pattern and some fuck-ass shoes. I will not explain their origin, I hate it. Next, I drew these characters in these reference sheets / character cards things. You'll see 3 of these don't have the likes and dislikes written, I just got lazy. I'm going to talk about these cards in the order that I drew them in, because I still remember them. Also, I finally came up with some names for them. I made them color coordinated too, so enough code names and enough incoherent colors. Going first, Peppermint, now named Rudolph Sugarplum. I turned his hair into a shaggy haircut with 2 drill buns that look like 2 dollops of whipped cream, with a braid on the right that has a metal ball as an accessory at the end. That was a reference to something very specific, but I don't remember what it was. He's wearing these overall fat pants mixed with strawberry pattern on the right and a pie crust pattern on the left. And the top part of the overall is a candy corn. Don't ask me why the white part is pink, I will make it white later on. And a simple sleeveless pink shirt. And I gave him a bass guitar with chocolate strawberry design for the body, a chocolate wafer roll neck, a gummy coals head sock, and I tried to design the logo for his band. The design will get simplified, here it is now. Side note, none of the other 5 characters shown in this video are in the band with him. It will be 3 other characters, and he's got a bunch of piercings that look like silver draggies. Don't mind the personality he's giving off here, it will change. Next up on the lineup is Star, whose name is now Amir Zaman. He added a couple more references in her design. Just to make the next part go faster, I'll explain as little as necessary of each story to explain the reference, if the title isn't enough or if the story isn't wildly popular. She's wearing red Mary Janes, a reference to the fairy tale Red Shoes by Hans Christian Andersen, and I didn't forget the tusk this time, with a golden bull tail on the back referencing the story of the golden calf from the 3 main Abrahamic religions. Of course, it now references the three stories about gold, creating a ninth rule of thirds. Her hair is tied into a high ponytail without the hijab and with a gradient from dark blue to light blue to look like the ocean. So with her bow, it's referencing the story where the sun and the moon live in the sky. Context. Basically, in the story, the sun and moon used to live on Earth, and one day they invited the ocean to come visit them. When he did, the house overflowed with water, which forced them to move up to the sky. The hair comb on the head is supposed to look like a sword in the stone, and double as a reference to the King Arthur mythos and the Siberian folktale, the Sun Maiden and the Crescent Moon, because those are the gifts the Sun Maiden gave the protagonist. Well, she gave him a comb and a whetstone, and a regular stone is like a whetstone. Close enough. You'll also notice that she is a below-the-knee amputee on her right leg. Ignore the inaccurate-looking prosthesis. I used a reference that I think was AI generated. Yeah, my bad. I do get better at drawing it, don't worry. Well, you can say that it's a reference to Red Shoes by Hans Christian Andersen. It's not. I just wanted to subvert the trope in fairy tale where a character's disability is seen as a punishment, curse, or a sin. Like in Rapunzel, the armless maiden, and the aforementioned Red Shoes. It's just the way she was born. I did, and I'm still doing a lot of research, watching videos, reading articles, and reading stories about leg amputees, specifically below-the-knee amputee, but I still read about other kind of disabilities. I like reading about minorities in general. But I will do my absolute best to portray it accurately. The design on the socket is supposed to look like a feathered serpent. It was a reference to Quetzalcoatl. I later changed it to a different design. I also, for some stupid reason, gave her a design on the socket and a realistic cosmesis. Like, do you want it visible or not? The cosmesis is the cover thing, the long cover thing. Next up is the 2 meter tall little guy, Flock, whose name is now Felix Matzhaus. He didn't change much, so I don't have much to talk about his design-wise. The manga on the card is his favorite manga that he discovered when he was little. I have a speed paint on my child drawing the cover of that fake manga. I wanted to redraw it one day to give it a more shoujo art style. The summary of this in-universe story is: Kimiko Ai is a second-year high school student. In her school, she is known as the Cupid. She is the school matchmaker. Whenever a student is having a problem in the love department, whether it's to be a confession, a rejection, or figuring out feelings, Kimiko is who they will go for help. But after a date with a classmate who asked her out, she asked herself, have I ever fallen in love? Now for color. Now named Iris Leslie. They didn't change much, I just made them fatter because I wanted to make the group more varied in body types. I gave them shoes that while I like them, I don't know if they exist. It's basically a sneaker with drawstring closure. They're kind of like shoes mixed with one of those disposable covers people wear when they're painting walls. The design on the back is a reference to Ionic Greek columns, which are the ones that are rolled up on the two sides on the top, and the hair is tied with a red film reel. Now for Ladybug, now named Hotaru Aramushi. She also received a massive upgrade with her ugly orange in favor of a lime. She is now wearing a sleeveless crop top, jean shorts, tights, sporty sneakers. The shoes are ant-themed. They have 6 triangle resembling legs and mandibles at the front. The down jacket is because it's segmented like a bug's body, and the zipper has a charm shaped like a crab claw. I also designed a better skateboard for her. At the beginning, I came up with the design for the deck. While I like the design, I didn't draw it on a deck template, so the design doesn't really fit. I also gave it these side parts. While I don't know if these parts will affect the performance on the board, I'm keeping them. Now for the final card. Button. Mickey Threads. I just made his ahogi a bit longer, but don't worry, it will become even longer. I gave him leg warmers, and the drawstring on his hoodie are now warm-on string. That's my favorite detail. That's about it. From this point forward, they don't change much, but every time I draw them, I would change something about them. Now I'll explain the basic premise of the story. The title of the story is Brainchiller. Get it? Because a brainchild is a term that means an idea or an invention that is considered to be a particular person's creation. And there are a bunch of concept gajinka that came from my brain. And they're children. Anyway, it's a slice of life story. The world is like a 2000 to 2010 cartoon. Think Gumball, Adventure Time, Grim Adventure of Billy Mandy, where there are mythical creatures, magic, kaiju, robots, aliens, anything that can come from my brain. But the story will generally be an episodic coming-of-age slice of life comedy. Think something akin to Mob Psycho 100 or Ojumaji Doremi. So, as an example of what lives in this world, this is Rice. He's Mickey's pet rabbit. But the thing about him is he's from the netherworld, so he's a Beelzebub hair. So basically, he has an infinite stomach that can digest anything, doesn't leave droppings, and eats things much larger than himself. And the way he does it is by splitting the skin on his face, opening up like a flower, and stretching his surfaces across whatever he's trying to eat, until he covers it. And once he does, he can just swallow, and the whole body will return to the original size. Here's a diagram. Another example of a creature that lives in this world is a Cheshire Cat, just like the character from the book Alice in Wonderland. Like just a species that the only difference is they don't talk and they can disappear into thin air and leave a grin behind. So that should give you a good idea of the things you can find in this world. Anyway, now I'm going to talk about the character personality and characteristics. Mickey. I want their concept to reflect how I see those concepts as personal trait, but it won't be to the letter. This will also be my interpretation. Okay, Mickey. He's an outgoing kid who makes sure no one is left out. He tends to disregard his own needs in favor of the needs of others. He's childish, but can still be mature when he needs to, and he's surprisingly a big fan of horror. He recently became more cautious of who he befriends because of some bad experience he had in middle school. He doesn't tend to talk about himself, and he will change the topic as fast as he can. He doesn't share his interests with anyone besides Felix. Now for the little story about him. Mickey and Felix are childhood friends, and Felix isn't his given name. His actual name is William. But when him and Mickey were in kindergarten, Mickey had this stuffed toy catch keychain that he hung on his backpack, that he named Felix. And one day he got William a similar one, that was a yellow rabbit. And he didn't know what to name it, so he just called it Mickey. And Mickey liked the idea of naming a toy after his best friend so much that he wanted to do it. But he didn't want to replace Felix, the cat plushie. So what he did was, instead of renaming the cat, he just started calling William Felix. And he kept doing it so much that even their family started calling him Felix, and he's been Felix ever since. Next up, Felix. He's a bit socially inept, but by no means is he incapable of making friends. He's very social and likes company. His interests include tabletop games, books, cats, photography. He loves doing activities with friends and often tries to gather his friends to have fun conversations. His sense of humor is dry to non-existent. He doesn't always understand sarcasm, but he has friends to explain it to him. He's usually very quiet, especially in settings where it's expected of him. But put him in an environment he feels secure in, and he will not stop moving or talking. He's secretly afraid of starting high school since he doesn't want to get close to people only for them to lose touch after they graduate. Now for the little story. One time when he was a kid, he went to the library to look for a reference book for his grandma. Before he headed out, he checked out the manga section and found a shoujo series he never heard of, and he started reading it. And since he liked to walk around while reading, like just in circle, endlessly, he doesn't bump into anything though. He got so invested in the manga that he kept reading it until the library closed with him inside, and he decided to stay the night until he finished the existing volume. He got a very long lecture from his grandma, but at least he got a favorite manga out of it. That is the affirmation manga that I drew a fake cover for in 2023. Next, Rudolph Sugarplum. Now I realize I spelled his surname on this drawing. Now that I look at these drawings, I have a lot of typos. Hey Procreate, could you add a spell check to your text tool? Thanks. Back to the topic. Anyway, for his personality, he's somewhat of a pessimist, he doesn't trust new people easily, and he always thinks strangers who interact with him are out to get him. When he is faced with something he hates or isn't comfortable with, he tends to stay quiet until it's too much to bear, and he breaks. He's also very affectionate with people he's close with. He will flirt with his friend non-stop, but if they flirt back, he will become a blushing mess. He has no confidence in his ability, but he never stops trying because he genuinely enjoys his hobbies, especially creative avenues such as music writing and acting. Now for the short story about him. So, something to know about him is that he is an AFAB, and one day when he was 9, after he got back from his ballet class that he secretly hated, he decided he had enough. He went to the bathroom and cut his hair really short and shaved his eyebrows. And when his mom came back, she said he should have just told her that he didn't like the ballet class and wanted to cut his hair. And he started crying because he was afraid to get disowned. They later went to the barber to do some damage control on his hair, or what was left of it. And then they spent the next 3 days coming up with a new name for him. Oh, and he also dug the look of no eyebrows, so he still shaves them to this day. You'll notice that I've kept drawing him with no eyebrows for a while now. The first time it was a mistake, but when I went to draw him again with them, the design looked wrong, so I just kept him without eyebrows. Next, Hutter. She tends to come up as pretty and friendly. She's rude and foul-mouthed. She might make mean comments about you, but unless you're her friend, she won't cross the line. Even though she is very strong, she's aware she's only 155. And when she makes fun of her friends, she makes sure they know it's all in good fun, and that they're allowed to make fun of her back. She might not have many friends, but she doesn't mind. She absolutely adores animals, no matter how big or small they are. She learned to skateboard very early in her life, and she loves streetwear fashion and clothes shopping in general. She has a major sweet tooth. The story. One time, on a camping trip with her 5th grade class, she wandered in the woods and found an injured big frog, the size of a big dog, that was being protected by a kaiju tarantula. She kept trying to convince the tarantula to let her help the frog. After helping the tarantula fend off animals that wanted to reach the frog, the tarantula let her get close to the frog. When she got close, she noticed that the frog, despite being injured, was fending off bugs from trying to eat the tarantula's eggs. So she tore up a part of her dress and used it to bandage the frog injury. And spent the week she was there protecting the frog and the eggs from anything that tried to harm them. Unluckily, the frog injury wasn't that severe, so he got better. And while she didn't get to do any of the activities that was planned to her by the teacher, she didn't mind. Also, the thing with the tarantula and the frog is based on an actual symbiotic relationship some tarantulas can have with some frogs, where tarantulas protect the frog from predators and provide food, while the frog will protect the tarantula's eggs. Now, to my bias. In terms of concept, I love all my children equally. Amira is a man. Amira is an expressive young girl. She can't hide her feeling very well, even if she tries, since it will show on her face. She's always looking for like-minded individuals who won't look down on her interests like her brothers do. She likes shoujo manga, fairy tale stories, and video games, especially visual novels, JRPGs, life sims, and fighting games. She has a competitive spirit and is somewhat of a sore loser. She's very much touch-averse unless she initiated, which she hardly ever does. Story. Ever since they were little, her brothers were always obsessed with sports, and since she was never into sports and really wasn't all that good at them, especially since she didn't have a running blade, their insurance didn't cover the cost of it, she would spend most of her time playing alone, and she would play a lot of fighting games. Her brother would occasionally play with her, but eventually she got so good at them that it was neither fun for her nor for them, so she kept playing by herself. She would often get bored playing fighting games by herself, so she switched to mostly JRPGs until one day she was researching information about a community for a game she enjoyed, and she discovered a local gaming tournament in a gaming cafe in the city. So she decided to check it out. She tried playing matches with the people in the community and really enjoyed her time, and she began coming regularly to the cafe and would even try to invite her friends from school. And whenever younger people come to check out the community, she would be the one to welcome them and teach them how to play the games. She would discover a bunch of new games and even try to enter in a competition, and could only win 5th place so far. She's somewhat pissed about it, but she still tries every time. Lastly, Aris Leslie. They're kind of way too perfect to be real. He's always been in way too many clubs at school, and they help out with other ones. They can do the jobs of group of people faster than on their own. She's always working on secret projects, yet they somehow always have the free time to hang out with friends. They never seem angry or upset, they seem almost perfect, but they're still human. Even they seem to forget that sometimes. They tend to be in a position of authority a lot of the time, and they also tend to have dirt on everyone. No one seems to know where they get it from. Now for the story. I don't have one. I want them to be somewhat like a cryptid in the story. While they will have their own scripted plots, I want them to remain mysterious. Okay, final art that I have for this video is just reference sheets of their final designs. I'll try to stick to them and not keep changing them. Please hold me accountable. Now I'm going to talk about the extra stuff about the story and characters that I didn't find a good place for earlier in the video. So please play in the background. Okay, let's talk about their name origin. First, Mickey and Felix are named after Mickey the Mouse and Felix the Cat, respectively. I just thought the names were cute, and also at the time when Steamboat Willie was entering the public domain in a couple of months, so I thought, why not use the first name? Then I named Rudolph after Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, just to give the original trio a names of characters in the public domain theme. The rest of the names are going to follow the naming scheme of the lines like Monster High or Avatar High, which have the theme of every character, but not to the extent that they have to follow it to the letter. Like Mickey is named after a cartoon character, but his surname is just because stuffed animals are made of threads. Felix's surname translates to Mouse Mansion in Dutch, and it's a reference to this Dutch brand of children's books, craft kits, and toys called Mouse House that you use to make miniature houses for mice. It's also adorable. And when I think of antique houses, I think of mice. They also have a museum in Amsterdam. Also, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, so if you can tell me how to pronounce it, I'd really appreciate it. Rudolph's surname is a reference to the Sugar Plum Fairy from the Nutcracker, just because of the Christmas association the ballet has that goes with the reindeer and peppermint. Clotilda's first name means firefly, and her surname is Mirror of Insect, which according to this website, approximately 10 people have that surname in Japan. Now, I don't know if it means like 10 families or like 10 people total. Amira was the easiest name because Arabic names are just regular ass words. Her name literally means princess. Her surname means time, and it comes from the phrase كان يا مكان في قديم الزمان, which is the Arabic equivalent of once upon a time. An artist is named after the Greek goddess of the rainbow, and their surname comes from lapis lazuli, which was used historically to make the most expensive pigment, ultramarine blue. More things about their design and the characteristics. Mickey is going to be the shortest character out of the cast, and Felix is going to be the tallest out of the cast. For Mickey, in the final reference, he's wearing a shirt and micro shorts underneath, and I moved the design to the front instead of the back, and I finally didn't add Japanese text I can't read. And he's wearing the stuffed cat keychain I talked about earlier. Felix doesn't wear his rabbit, he just keeps it at home. Here's a sketch of both of them together. I drew Felix's phone case in this reference sheet. It was a gift from Mickey, and he refused to upgrade his phone since he liked the design a lot, and they won't make the same design for the newer models. For Rudolph, I simplified the pie crust design and bass guitar, and gave him a specific design for the individual piecing on his left ear. Amira got the Steven Stone ass crown sleeve cuffs, and this onyx woodcutter gold and silver axes, and changed her handbag into a golden apple instead of the bowl with slime in reference to all the golden apples in Greek mythology. There's also a golden apple in east of the sun and west of the moon. Also, I changed the design of the socket. The design aren't a reference to anything specific, they're just her name in Arabic and two random doodles. I changed the design on Hutcher's deck. I like the design a lot better now, and I gave her these beehive design leggings. And I didn't change much, just planned out how their hair works as a structure. The last thing I want to talk about is an idea I had at one point when I got the idea of making the character into anthropomorphic concepts, which was one day to make them into ball-jointed doll line, like a higher budget Ever After High or Monster High, whatever. By the way, I don't hate Monster High. I'm just bitter and jealous that we'll never get a more Ever After High. Gen 3 killer got my heart though. Consuming a lot of content about doll customization and oak dolls in the last few years, especially YouTubers like Delightful, Moonlight Jewel, and Hexchain. And I would love to have my own characters be VGDs. Not necessarily to sell, just to have as art in my house. I don't know, I think it'd be cool. So anyway, the idea is to make faces and bodies with unique sculpts, accessories, stitched clothing, inset eyes, custom stand, a 1/5 scale, and rooted hair. You know what? You're right. I'm asking for too much. I'm willing to settle for wigs instead of rooted hair. If I can't make the whole line, I just make the 6 characters shown in this video. If I can't do that, at least Mickey, I want my son. Look, I made these sketches of them as BGDs. They're not perfect. I'm not necessarily going to call them a fashion doll line, like Ever After High, because I'm not someone who knows much about fashion. Like hell, I don't even know if their current design can be just considered fashionable. The designs are a little bit too simple for fashion dolls. I'm probably going to have to add a bunch of details if I ever do make them into dolls. Like decorative stitching, lacing, studs, makeup, looks, and other stuff I probably haven't thought of. And I want them to have like alternative outfits. Like one could be a concept swap where I draw Iris, for example, with Rudolph Candy theme, with a ring pop top hat and hair shaped like an ice cream scoop. And Amira with an outfit themed after Cinderella. And Mickey with different animal hoodies to look like different stuffed animals. Anyway, thank you for listening. I've been trying to make this video since I finished the last video, which was back in January. And at the point I'm writing this, it's July, so half a year, and then some. I need to find a way to speed up this process. Anyway, I'm thinking of making a series of videos with this story, where I design 3 characters in one video, with the title turning concept into character design or something like that. This is not me asking you if this is a good idea I should do or not. I'm not monetized yet, so I'm going to do what I want. This is my channel. I'll also continue making Fakemon. I'll have the name of the region by the next video, whenever that is. So anyway, I'll see you next time when you visit me in Wonderland. Bye! Hello. This is post-editing Arnab. So I want to say thanks a lot for watching. I had to cut a lot of content for this video. The original voiceover was over an hour long. I didn't even mention things like the change in appearance with this video and the last one. But I just wasn't happy with the PNG tuber, and I don't think I can manage to make a good VTuber just yet. So we'll have to settle for different PNGs with different expressions for now. Anyway, I didn't get to talk about a lot of aspects of the design and the story. Like I forgot to even mention the media I wanted the story to be adapted into. It's a webcomic, by the way. And I didn't mention things like Mickey, Amira, and Hotaro's eyelashes references. And I didn't talk about wanting to sculpt the doll bodies myself or even defend my decision to give Rudolph that horrible farmer stand. And I won't. But thank you for listening to me yap about my OCs. Also, funny thing, date everything was close to release as I was working on this video, and the coincidence of the premise and of my premise and the game in terms of character design. I swear I'm not trying to ride the hype. I got the idea of concepts back in 2020, and the oldest post I have of one of the design being clearly based on the concept was July 7, 2020. I stated earlier that my inspiration wasn't Ever After High, but I will be taking design inspiration. Anyway, I'm going to read Bleach now, because I promised my sister I would continue reading it after I finish working on this video, or she won't read any of my manga recommendations. I finally convinced her to read Iromacon. It's a whole thing. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Subscribe if you like the video. Bye bye!